So ReZero Season 3 is even worse than we first thought. We all assumed they were pretty screwed. I mean, it's a very short window with a checkpoint. But with that said, I mean, as bad as it is to constantly die, at least, we don't have to go through weeks or days to get back to the next attempt. So it's kind of like a 50-50. On one hand, we're screwed. On one hand, we get quicker turnarounds. And we all knew it was more than just Sirius that we'd have to deal with. I mean, you adding Greed to the mix, it's pretty bad. But I'm thinking to myself last week, okay, can't have Reinhardt come in, he'll accidentally kill everyone. Sure, you might be able to tell him beforehand, but a better opportunity would be, what if we contacted Reinhardt early, had him deal with Greed, and we deal with Sirius? I mean, the Beatrice-Subaru combo ain't too shabby. Hell, we get to see him. He's the next up-and-coming Beetlejuice. Sirius even is worshipping him as such. There's a path there. And for a minute, I was a little confused. I was like, listen, as much as I wanted to see more of what Garf's been up to, it's interesting how much they're, like, cutting away to him. Jesus Christ, man. Garf has a whole goddamn plot line he has to deal with his long-lost mom. Those kids are definitely dying at some point. We started the season off with a kid dying. His siblings ain't making it, at least in this loop. I wouldn't even be shocked if some don't make it in general. You have lust. You have gluttony. Gluttony took someone and folded them like an accordion. I truly have no idea what they're gonna do, because the window they have... They're fucked. What other... They're screwed! I have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my mind break in real time to this ReZero greatness. You know it's over there exclusively. Like, I don't even know if Subaru should just off himself and try again at this point. Because on one hand, as far as we know, we might already have another checkpoint. And you might want to say, well, no, there's never been a checkpoint this quick. Well, there's also never been a checkpoint so connected to the next death. We need an army that's positioned perfectly before everything happens. I'm generally curious because at some point Subaru's dying, right? There's no way we go the entirety of Season 3 and he doesn't die again. He will. But I'm interested because the reaction Sirius had when he used, it was really cool how they detailed it. You see, like, the knot in his stomach and then the shadow fist pop up. I'm curious if we use that early on, she then gets connected to us. Is there a way to manipulate the crazy bitch to helping us? Maybe then we fight... No, because she's not even strong enough to fight Greed, to be fair. The only one who... I really feel like Reinhardt needs to be the one to fight Greed. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, what this episode did a great job at is it actually was probably... Like, I'm not going to say it was the tamest, because for the most part, if we look at runtime, episode 1 had more tame. It wasn't until, like, the last 5 minutes that it got crazy. But it was really interesting how it starts off so hopeless and helpless to then just immediately cut for half the episode to the Garf stuff. And the Garf stuff is what I've been wanting to see since the end of episode 1. And honestly, it's just tragic, to be honest. We get the confirmation about the mom, which, no surprise, lost her memories. Very nice guy ended up finding her, and they started a family. I was a little worried at first that this dude might end up being like a, don't you dare tell her, blah, 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 but it was actually Garf's own free will to be like, I'm nothing to her. Of course, we know that's not going to last forever, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting how they went about the whole dilemma there, because she instinctively knew what type of tea to bring Garf, even though she would normally ask her guests. And it's just like, even though it's such a transition off of the intensity, even before knowing the reason why we're focusing on it so heavily, other than just figuring out what's happening there, I was appreciative because, at the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, okay, was this before Subaru's death or after Subaru's death? Because goddamn, in my head, I'm thinking, how many times does Garf have to go through his mommy issues here? Because this ain't looking good. And the fact that by the end of the episode, we stumble into the mom once again and she says, my kids are lost, and I'm getting war flat. I feel like I'm getting the Vietnam flashbacks, man, and I'm thinking to that kid in episode 1 and what they did to him. And I'm like, I will be shocked if at least one of his siblings doesn't die in this loop. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna stay dead. I mean, that is a possibility. But you understand the concern, especially when a character like Gluttony... I was just expecting a head pop. Pancaked. And here's the thing. I remember, I think it was close to the end of season 2, people were talking about, at least what I saw anyway, I'm sure it was talked about even before the season just started up. But when I was covering season 2, like, I remember people were talking about how, like, damn, like, they're probably gonna have to censor season 3 because, like, it's pretty intense. And I was always curious, like, what they meant by that, because to me, like, ReZero's, like, ReZero's always felt like it's been intense. But seeing some of the deaths, I mean, you start the season off with a kid dying, which that's already pretty taboo for most products. People are getting obliterated left and right. It's the detail, like Subaru strangling in episode 2, the crushing of that guard, like it's incredibly edgy without going overboard. It's edgy in the way that you definitely are unnerved and you're disgusted by it, but I love the fact that it doesn't go so overboard that it's like trying to just like, it's not like blood splatter everywhere in the way that's like, okay, it's really just trying to outgore itself. No, like, every time something brutal like this happens, you're like, okay, what the hell? This is just the intro, mind you. We have how many archbishops? We are done. Now, granted, we had maybe about 10 Reinhardts. We could just position them where we need and call it a day, but, shit. See, this is the issue, though, about having such a close checkpoint, and I knew this was going to be an issue to begin with, but it is nice. It's nice and not so nice. Nice in the way that Subaru, no matter what happens here, he doesn't have to go back a week, live through all that bullshit, get to this and try again. Like, it's going to remain fresh. On the flip side, there's no real prep time, and there's going to be so much shit he's going to learn while going through this loop that when he ends up dying, he's going to have to quickly set all these pieces, and most of the people are going to think he's crazy until it all starts blowing up. And it's like, that is going to make it maybe the most difficult loop, despite having at face value the best starting point in some ways. I'm not saying in general, but in some ways it is a good starting point, but on others it's the worst. You best look at it as a glass half full, because this boy's about to be through the damn ringer, and Amelia's now kidnapped and being wedded off. And Subaru declared that's his waifu. Even in the face of absolute despair, he still remains to be the ultimate otaku. Let me know what you thought of this episode. We are now 3 episodes in. I mean, technically more if you count how long the first episode was. But, ReZero ain't playing. At the rate and pace we're going, this is about to surpass Season 2 before we even reach the halfway mark of this season. But thoughts down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Ring that bell, of course. Like I mentioned, we have full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout-out. Alright, so today we got Mate, Danbro77, Carl Stefan Berndal, and we also have Osios. I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. I don't even know what to say anymore. We're 3 episodes in, guys. Have a good one.